right. Things have
Nothing is happening.
welcome. Yeah, everything's fine. So welcome to Weave the Tale. We are in our finales weeks, and honestly, this has one more episode, which is just it's a mind craziness. Like so much going on in the background, so many shenanigans. This might be the best show on Netflix / Hulu / Amazon Prime / HBO Max. Since gosh, I guess that Shark TV series, you know, the one with the muscular guys, and you know, you guys remember those Shark TV cartoon things? If anyone remembers the name of that show, please. Sharks of the Street. There you go. So once again, thank you for coming over here at Weave the Tale. I am Penny for a Tale. Thank you for all of our sponsors, which I will name in just a few seconds. Also, thank you for those watching on YouTube. Make sure to comment down below at your leisure, but make sure to do it just like a hey, you guys were great, or hey, ducks, or whatever you guys want. We've gotten a lot of other I guess sexy bots who are very enthusiastic, but we would also like humans. Humans are cool too. So, real quick, thank you so much for all of our sponsors. Of course, Narwhal Games for sponsoring Morra and Ravenwood Academy. We have Christopher Gray for American Witch. We have Arakuna Media for Nibiru. We have Evil Hat with not one but two Fate of Cthulhu, as well as Tachyon Squadron, which is currently on right now. You can check out that on the schedule. Black Void Games for, of course, Black Void. Smudgy Games for Parsley's, and all that good stuff. Thank you so much, Night Trace. That we are well loved. Oh. Thank you. But without further ado, Lily, let's talk to these individuals, where you can find them, and then we'll get into this amazing interview here real quick. So starting with Almost Faye.
Hi, I'm Faye, Almost Faye if you're nasty, and you can find me at the 3 T's of the internet, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok at Almost Faye, or if I'm not there, I'm usually over at the Faye Realm, which is an inclusive TTRPG space created by LGBTQIA folks for people of LGBTQIA2+, BIPOC, and those of marginalized genders to have a safe place to play TTRPG games on Twitch.
Woo! I've been trying to think of something.
I'm not going to say Tumblr.
I was trying to think of a way I could shorten my name so I can also say if you're nasty, but
if you're
nasty, I need to figure that out. If you're nasty, Reckitt Fox.
Yes, hello. I am Rocket Fox. You can find me most of the places. If you look up Rocket Fox, I will be there. And yeah, you can find me on my channel on twitch.tv/RocketFox doing all sorts of the things. And then as of late on Thursday evenings, I happen to be over on Sirenscape. We are doing a weekly Cyberpunk Red game. And this month we are doing a recap of the first month, so it's a good time to catch up. And then Monday nights, I'm over on Kobold Press right now for Court of the Shadow Fae, which is really exciting. And also, my podcast, Fantastically Strange, as of this week, has released for the first part of Season 2. So if you like weird-ass science and history, it is for your ear holes. So give it a listen.
Yes, please, for my ear holes, please. Awesome, thank you very much. And going on over to Chisholm.
Hello, I'm Am. You can find me here. You can also find me at Deck of Many Aces, an actual play podcast with actual asexuals. We play D&D 5e, and it's very fun, and we're just about to enter my character's backstory arc, which is great because I'm a huge narcissist, so you can come and learn all about me and my PC. You can also find me at RWD_pod for a Rendezvous with Destiny, which is an actual play Onyx Path Skyward podcast. And yesterday was our first birthday, which I was super proud about. We have a shiny new logo, and and we're just going on all these kinds of adventures, and it is the most fun. And I think that's everything. You can also find me here next week, and that's it.
Excellent. All right, cool. So let's shake it, get into character real quick. Hello, and welcome to Penny for a Tale. Today we are have the amazing opportunity to speak with three actors who've just kind of really made waves in the theater community. Their campaign, Ravenswood Academy, the potentially Oscar-winning TV series, no doubt said to make Leonardo DiCaprio cry because obviously we're going to have more Oscars than him. But let's talk to the people who have brought this to life. Let's first talk to the actor who played Lilith. Can you kind of take us, as you were reading the script and everything, what were you most interested in conveying through the character? What was kind of most important about Lilith to communicate to the audience?
What really drew me into the character initially was this real sense of a little bit of lostedness, that she really relies heavily on this other persona to carry her through, and all of the critters that go along with her, and really the fact that she doesn't really believe in herself, despite the fact that she's accomplished these really miraculous feats, such as the organ bees and such. So which I, as I flipped through, I saw that was going to be a thing.
Yeah. And actually, the more we kind of analyze the TV series, we've come to understand that organ bees is a metaphor for something greater, something that we're all a part of, and something that we struggle with. Truly, anyone who's watched the shows can point out and say, yes, I have organ bees, and relate to that aspect of the show. I know for my family.
I mean,
that's
are
been the
not
case,
organ
so
bees really part of all of us?
this is true. Humanity, as distant from each other as they are today, can find common ground with organ bees. So it's a very positive
Yes.
message. And you did a great job kind of communicating that with your character.
Yes. Well, thank you. And I would really like to extend a lot of thanks to the animal crew that really helped me train to prepare for this role.
Yeah, and if I recall, there was no CGI effects. They were all real animals used on set.
Oh yes, very highly trained animal actors. They went to all the master schools, in fact.
Juilliard for some of them, yes.
Yes, and in fact, the rabbit, I believe, was initially Shakespearean trained.
Wow, it's such a fantastic cast, and honestly, we're lucky to have them a part of the team. Going on over to the actor of Actia. Your character had a lot of growth between the first episode, the pilot episode, to what will amount as a finale next week, airing only on Peacock at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What was kind of the things that made you emotional or tear up in terms of what your character would have to go through as you began to learn and become Actia?
I think the thing that made me most emotional about Actia really is the fact that a lot of her growing up has to do with learning to sort of act a little more childish, so to speak. I think something that I found that's always really resonates with me is the first time we had you in as a director, because obviously you came in a little later, and when McSweeney, the character of McSweeney, told Actia that she was going to be a lioness, it made me really confident that you really understood the character in a similar way that I did. And I think just her confrontation of herself really above everything else has been the most central thing to her character.
Yeah. And how did this affect your personal life? You know, obviously shooting days was long extended. Bottled water, of course, provided, but nonetheless, it's just it's a harrowing time to perform such a role. How did that affect your personal life in that way?
I think it actually affected it really positively because I just had too many friends, and I just didn't have time to spend time with them anymore because I had a really good excuse about work. I could just spend time with my cats and my TV and mac and cheese, which is frankly all I really need in my personal life.
Oh, that's fair. I think that really resonates with the audience too, who are very into just sitting in mac and cheese and cats and home and all that together in a box. I know I haven't left the confines of my director's chair for 8 weeks, so I understand.
Yes,
the
we're starting to
sentiment.
get worried about you.
Yeah, yeah, it's okay. I can vaguely remember where the exits are, so I think after the series is done, I might go out into the world and see what it has become and what Ravenwood Academy has changed the world. Kind of see that presence come back. Um, Excellent. Thank you very much. And of course, the actor for Eris. There was a very tough scene where you killed off an entire peoples of squirrels. This animosity showing quite well within your character. And we actually, with these amazing actors who are also amazing voice actors as well, did the dialogue for the squirrels for that particular episode, which was a genius note on their part. Eris, what was going through your mind when you first sat down and saw the script and saw burn all of the squirrels?
I think the first thing that I thought of was the fact that Eris believed it wasn't just violence for violence's sake, although they would never tell anybody else that. They had listened to the information that they could gather about the Queen and about the land squirrels, and realised that the land squirrels were actually the ones that were decimating the flying squirrels for very little reason, just so that they could be the ruling class. And I believe that one of Eris's main points that they believe in very strongly is the mantra of "eat the rich." And when they saw a people that were actively trying to murder the others of their kind for no reason other than they wanted to rule, that kind of sparked in them, and they realized that eat the rich can apply to many different occasions, and decided that from that point the land squirrels had to pay for what they'd done to the flying squirrels.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful words, honestly. And for those who don't know, the studio is now looking into a mini series concerning the land squirrel and the social political lifestyles, as well as post annihilation, like what does life look like there. So make sure to tune in and find more for more teasers concerning that. And that's a project we're very excited about. So yeah, definitely. Eris, Lilith, Actia, what do you think is going to happen next episode? The script has been hidden. We have locked it away, and it will only be delivered the night of. But what are kind of your hopes, and where do you see your characters going?
Well, where we left off, I know all of the cousins, they ended up in along these paths that I feel they were led to by the conditions of their circumstance in a cruel and cold and unforgiving world. Perhaps even in victims of, there's in psychology a lot of talk of nature versus nurture, and I feel like a lot of these came together in such ways that they didn't feel really in full control of. And so I wonder, just for myself as an actor, if we will see an opportunity in which we can really see some of that challenged a little bit. Will there be an opportunity for some sort of a redemption in that capacity?
That's good. That's good. Comments from the other two?
I very much agree that it would be very beneficial to see some form of acknowledgement that the actions of these people are not solely their fault, and there's a possibility that had they been born and raised by different people, maybe this wouldn't have happened.
That's fair. And obviously we are dealing with, or potentially could be dealing with, time travel. And there has been some speculation on whether this is a right move of the studio, but we follow the whims of the story first and foremost. And to that, we are just sailors in the ocean. Actia, your comment, please.
Yes, I absolutely concur with the others. However, I also do think that it's very important at this stage that some kind of sacrifice be made. If our characters are supposed to end up satisfied, then they have to give in order to take. That's been the nature of the magic in their universe. So it abides by the laws, the narrative laws. So I'm excited to see what exactly that sacrifice is, because I've been on the forums as well under a different name, and I've seen everyone's theories. And I'm excited to see what that sacrifice is going to be.
Yes. And for those watching right now live in the studio somewhere in America, internet, definitely feel free to ask questions of the cast as we continue to explore this marvelous ode to humanity, is what I'd like to call it. So real quickly, we are going to bring in some special individuals who had a hand in kind of creating the set, the script, and such like that. I always enjoy the actors being able to meet those behind the scenes, which is this whole thing really is a team effort, if you will. So definitely. And in the meantime, we will play the miniseries trailer for the squirrels, which should be a really fun time. So yeah. We all have to pretend that there's a squirrel trailer that is playing right now. So just let that, yeah.
I believe what I'm hearing is that we should create a squirrel miniseries trailer.
Does
And I believe,
Oh God, yeah.
that what the squirrel mini. I believe what the squirrel, and I'm just gonna slide this across the table. I believe it would follow, and maybe I'm a little biased, but what if the little squirrel Romeo and Juliet story continued?
Oh yes, kind of
What if
teased
it
in that little
continued
side
on?
episode
It
there.
becomes like an on the road lovers in the apocalypse kind of story.
And it
I
starts
think
off
that
the city on fire.
we still don't entirely know what happened to the Tickle Me Smell Mo that adored Actia that was sent to wipe out the squirrels. Maybe they had a change of heart and saved this couple.
You
The
guys ever
Tickle
read?
So
Yeah.
you see the city on fire. You see the fire encroaching upon the land squirrel, the Juliet, and our Romeo the flying squirrel, and the fire is getting closer, and they're huddled together in their little furry bodies, just like weeping tears, and then suddenly a seemingly giant stick, realistically it's a moderately sized stick, falls down over the flames, and then bursting forth, the Tickle Me Smellmo steps forward, eyes ablaze, reaching out a furry hand, and says, "Take my hand!" And then the squirrels know what must happen.
And another character that we must have in this is Spider Steve.
Spider Steve's the antagonist, right?
But Spider Steve without his magic. Because he will still be tiny, but he won't have magic.
Yeah. There's a lot of theories that go into Spider Steve. And honestly, I think some of that will be teased in the final episode. But I don't know if the fans are really going to get that resolution they want to see with the Spider Steve storyline. If you imagine you're at a table and someone hands you your favorite meal, and then when you're 75% done, the same person takes away that meal, you're going to come back to that restaurant. So, and that's kind of
can any of us ever
whole
truly
approach.
have enough of Spider Steve?
This is
No,
true.
no is the
I think
answer.
Eris could definitely have enough of Spider Steve. I don't think Eris likes Spider Steve.
There is a thirst blog dedicated to Spider Steve somewhere.
There
Oh
is,
my gosh,
and
I'm
fans-
at like undoubtedly there's going to be like Spider Steve with every single one of the characters in fanfiction.
Here's how
and
Spider Steve
fan
can
art.
still be redeemed.
Yes.
I believe in
Redeem
Spider
Spider
Steve. I really do.
Steve.
Hashtag redeem
Coffee
Spider
shop
Steve.
AU.
I'm just saying.
Coffee shop
Hashtag
high
save Spider
school
Steve.
years. Even though they're in a college.
Yeah. Speaking of which, since we have this beautiful commercial being played out, we are going to go ahead and shift over to the people who created all of this. As everyone shifts their chairs and the like, is everyone comfy? Cool. So obviously we had a very tough discussion about the intricacies of the story that we weave together in a way that is Oscar worthy, but obviously it was a team effort, and you all did so much to provide the circumstance by which this truly transcending TV series was able to truly flourish. Why don't you, each of you, introduce yourselves, starting with at Stolen Fire, Rachel Judd. Go ahead.
Hello. As I was introduced, my name is Rachel. You can find me Stolen Fires pretty much everywhere, mostly Twitter and Instagram. You can also find me over at Vorpal Tales, where I play and run a lot of very fun games.
Excellent. And of course, going down at Savage Sparrow, Jennifer Braz. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Savage Sparrow / Gen B. And you can find me on the internet at Savage Sparrow, as well as savagesparrow.com, where should you wish to elevate your wardrobe with nerdy apparel and accessories, I'm your girl.
Yes, excellent. And it's actually due to the works of Savage Sparrow that many of us were able to clothe ourselves during this TV series. So thank you. Our hearts to you.
Of course, of course.
And at Wutherings, Jay and Childs. Go ahead.
It's okay. Nobody can say the name. My name is Jan Childs. You can find me at Wuthering Cephalopod and various abbreviations of that are allowed by whatever social media is. And I'm the marketing and communications person for Mighty Narwhal and one of the primary writers for the book. So, hi.
Hello. And also, it looks like Flying Squirrels won. We have more Team Flying Squirrels than Land Squirrels. Eris, do you have a comment on that?
It's just as it should be. Down with the
Which is
ruling
true.
classes.
So for the three people behind the scenes and such, what was the conception of this idea, which is now on the internet and soon to be on paper? What kind of sparked the idea of, yes, I would like to make a cinematic universe for people to explore?
We were all in Las Vegas working on a different project, and we knew we wanted to work on something together, and we couldn't quite come up with the terms to say what it was and what we were doing. We kept on using the language of movies. And finally, 2 weeks afterward, one of our other partners, Jeff Fowler, said, what we're looking for is cinematic. So after we once we found the word cinematic, we were able to build everything around that concept, and we were able to use the terms we were already using, and we were able to adapt other terms. Like you'll see our sidebars are labeled director's cut and extended edition and things like this, because people understand this from watching movies. So every time we came across something where we could describe it in those terms, we used those, because you can go anywhere and somebody can tell you about a Marvel movie. So that's basically where it came from.
Yeah, I think it's the true unifier of everyone on Twitch, TTRPG, is that every game in some aspect uses terms and stuff from TV shows and movies. And obviously we've gone full on into it that we don't know what's real or what's not anymore. But that's just how we do.
Yeah, and we're all unified by the aspect of being, like, we've all looked at a character on television and thought, I wonder what I can integrate from that into my character, or a book or a television show or something like that. What can I take from that and make it mine? So it's something we've all done.
Yeah. Actia, was there any actors that you had in mind when you were playing Actia through the whole process, or any influences from anyone else?
Oh, absolutely. I think that Actia's character has definitely been influenced by a lot of like golden age Hollywood girl next door types. So, you know, your Audrey Hepburns. I always listened to La Vie en Rose by Edith Piaf before beginning each filming session. So I definitely think that sort of late 40s, early 50s traditional golden age aesthetic. Betty Davis. That
Interesting.
Kind of thing.
How about you, Eris?
Eris was a combination of a lot of different characters, like the Loki type, generally the best way to describe Eris was they were here for a good time, not a long time. And while they were here, they were going to be causing problems. And that's kind of their entire character.
Excellent. And finally, Lilith.
Sorry, my mute button got stuck. But yes, so I think in coming into this, one that I particularly was pulling from, I looked at some witchy characters that I have enjoyed from the past, and for this particular character, because there was the dichotomy of Lilith with Kiva, I really wanted to play with that idea. So I thought of, from some other universes, the Luna Lovegood type character, but as if she were a mean girl. And so really, really playing on that, but also if it's as if she were Dr. Doolittle if he were a psychopath.
Organ bees, right? That makes sense.
Yes. So I really wanted to take and just mush those all together harmoniously.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. And for people watching, feel free to, in the comment section, ask questions, and we'll try to swerve that over to these amazing people. And as we kind of specified earlier, we all have organ bees. Jennifer, arts.
Yes.
How did you approach this project compared to other projects?
So first of all, I did, the artwork that I did was two different types. I did sigils and like some logo stuff for punching Nazis. And then I did the storyboarding art for the various schools of magic. So actually playing that sort of production designer role of, illustrating the types of stories that you could tell in a cinematic way for these different types of magic. For the logo stuff, it was kind of depending on which school or which, specific institution, I tried to keep with the same Ravenswood style, but tailor each to their own original thing. For the, oh God, and Rachel, I'm sorry, I'm gonna screw it up again. Allied magic. I don't remember. I'm sorry. But for
it's
their
the
logo,
Seven-Pointed Alliance.
yes, that's it. Okay, Seven-Pointed Alliance. It was that was my favorite one to do because Jason Andrew was very much go for that Hellboy, Captain America kind of but the Silver Age variant of it. So, creating that kind of super heroic propaganda style thing, but in an occulty gothy way, was really fun. For the Ravenswood stuff, I really tried to be as diverse as I could in terms of, not just tone and style and, cultural practices of magic, but also in terms of representation of body types and races and genders and all of those things. Because the thing that I love the most about working for the Mighty Narwhal crew is that, diversity and representation are at the forefront of their creative briefs. And I also love having Jan as my boss because every time I'm like, so hey, I have this crazy idea, they're just like, okay, cool. You can even go more extra if you want, which is great when you're an artist.
More extra. I love it. And we did have a lot of interesting characters for this campaign season. So I'm going to swoop it on back over to our actors and just go around just like before. Which character was your favorite? And obviously, it can't be any of you three or our dear Resident Moon, who is not able to be with us today.
I have an answer.
I
Go on,
had a
Fox,
real
after you.
soft spot for I had a real soft spot for Discount Gritty. That his character arc was really spectacular. Coming in as an antagonist and then joining the primary cast and becoming a house helper, and beyond that, the heartbreaking moment when he, and for anyone who's not caught up to the series thus far, earmuffs there, but the heartbreaking moment when the magic dropped from the world and he took off the mascot mask. I mean, that just, even having read ahead and knowing that was going to happen, that was a difficult moment to really, even on set, I think there were a few tears shed.
Yeah, there was. And honestly, for kind of the behind the scenes, once the DVD comes out or VHS, depending on how we decide to publish it, you will see that the actor who played Gritty in this instance just really wanted their face to be seen. A lot of kind of method actors who get dressed up in the costumes and everything lose themselves, and so we also feared what would happen if someone lost themselves in Gritty, and so them being able to take that breath of fresh air for the first time in what could be years was truly a beautiful moment.
And it was my understanding too that actor is actually very, very experienced as a mascot performer.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, yes. I think Juilliard. Just insert that in.
Yeah, I
But
think,
very
and I
well,
think
very professional.
he had actually shared a dorm room with the actress who played the animal form of Kiva. So they went very far back.
Yes, and I believe the actor who played Gollum in the I don't know, some TV series that came out some time ago. It's not really worth mentioning, not compared to the beauty of Ravenswood Academy. 9 episodes, 1 movie.
I believe it was called the Game of Rings.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, or Harry's Potter or something like that. So who knows? Actia, well, what would you have in mind for your favorite character on the show?
Well, I know it's so cliche to have a side character who only gets one scene as your favorite, but I found the scene with the librarian so engaging and challenging. I can't believe that you got Danny DeVito for the role, by the way. It was a pleasure to work with him. But that was definitely my favorite side character.
Yeah, he was so enthusiastic to join the team, and my hero in every sense, and very much deserving an Oscar for side character alongside your awards.
I wanted to say Danny DeVito makes an appearance, or at least a reference to his salient image in the storyboard I did for the Phantasmagoria section of Magic. For those who are watching, Phantasmagoria is an illusion casting discipline. And my thought regarding that piece was to create a Wizard of Oz style sort of showdown where, the two characters are facing down this great and terrible being, and then there's a sneeze. and then it's Danny doing jazz hands. So as a little tidbit of behind the scenes Easter egg, in my personal headcanon, that set of storyboards is this alternate universe of It's Always Sunny where the gang messes around with magic.
Yeah. So did you actually have the actor I guess model
Oh,
for you
yes.
for this piece?
Like he's an incredibly cordial human being. He like sat for about like 40 minutes or so I could ensure that I sketched the exact detailing of his likeness, and he handled like the smoke effects really well. Some actors have allergies, so you got to be cognizant where when you're creating settings where
Yeah.
they're being kind enough to pose for you. But obviously, since he's a very private person, I had to alter the likeness some, but I feel he wouldn't mind that I tell all of you.
Yeah, I think that's cool. And also, he can touch his toes, which is something I didn't know. So interesting factoid. Eris, your favorite character?
I hate to be cliche. I feel like my favorite characters had to be a mixture of a few, and they all kind of appeared in the same episode. So it was the Ghost Children, the Tickle Me Smelmos, and Discount Gritty. Just the group of them, they're wonderful, and just they brought so much light to the episodes they were in. And I am very proud of Discount Gritty. The actor did really well going through the bartender training, and ended up producing very, very good cocktails on set for us.
It was lovely, the whole process, and definitely our love goes out to Discount Gritty and his wee whittle gritty families. But yeah, so much was
I have to
introduced
say
on
too,
that particular episode.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say about the children. Like it was really amazing having the reunion of the Backstreet Boys as the casting for the children to do the voice.
Yeah.
It really added that extra layer of musicality whenever they spoke.
We still want to pitch a music episode. So cross your fingers. Hopefully, sometime soon we'll get that musical episode. All right. So swooping on back over to the creators and such. Rachel, you wrote a good amount. If I am high. to understand. So what is your favorite aspect of the system? What are you kind of most proud of on the delivery of this story?
So just to clarify, my work for Ravenswood Academy in specific was editing. And so I approached this job with making sure that all the commas were in the right place while also preserving the unique voice of Ravenswood Academy. And that was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun also delving into the lore and the history that sets up the framework of Ravenswood, and just long adolescence spent reading a lot of H.P. Lovecraft was very useful.
How about the other genres that are in the book, Punching Nazis as well as the Rome one? What was your part to play in those?
Yes, Punching Nazis. I did write that. I wrote most of Punching Nazis. That was a lot of fun. It went through several different, very dramatic revisions. Originally, it was meant to be just a vanilla war story on the sort of on the same level of Saving Private Ryan or Band of Brothers, but the feedback we got from the first couple of test audiences, they found it a little bit depressing. They sort of didn't want to play in just a straight war movie. And so we went back to the writer's room and did a complete revision. And so now we've added on dragons. So you're not a pilot, you're a dragon ace. Night witches are actual witches. There are super soldiers, war magicians, and you're fighting Nazi zombies and werewolves.
Excellent. What so with the new change of with punching zombies, obviously like Band of Brothers and Saving Private Ryan can no longer be the basis of inspiration. Were there any other films that you were looking towards with that shift in tone?
Yeah, so when I was talking to one of the lead creatives, I sort of quipped that, oh, it's the Quentin Tarantino and four-color mashup you didn't know you wanted. And so it's definitely a lot of Inglorious Bastards with the alternate history, definitely a whole lot of Captain America. I was thinking a lot about there's this one scene in Captain America where Steve knows that his best friend Bucky is a prisoner of war and he wants to go bust him out. And the commanding officer has had no respect for Steve up till now, and just thinks he's some pretty face doing the USO shows. And Steve's like, no, I can do it. And then he goes and does it. And that scene where he is leading Bucky and all the other prisoners of war back into camp, and it's just this moment of triumph and ultimate badassery, and that is what I want actors to feel when they play this.
Excellent. That beautiful moment. Throwing it back over to the actors, what was that moment for your characters? What was the defining moment that you were like, I think people watching this are really going to understand this character or get have that emotional response to it?
I feel like for Eris, one of their big moments was the detention. The first detention, not the vampire detention.
Yeah.
Because well, they did take a moment, and it's very much in their character that even they weren't sure which heiress their cousins would choose, and it was a big risk for them, and they were quite happy with whichever choice the cousins went with.
Those were some very tough moments. That's that single episode, like there was a lot, right, that happened. Actia, Lilith?
Yeah. I think for, and I've mentioned this one before, but I hearken back to it. I think for Lilith, the moment when she goes and asks Baba Yaga to the dance by herself, not being able to rely on Kiva, when she goes in all of her little awkwardness and goes and asks this glorious coffee slinging woman to this dance, and she agrees. That's a really big moment for her. And alternatively, for Kiva, I think there's a really cool moment when Kiva gets to have her own body for a minute and joins Eris to vampire detention, and has this conversation with our glorious vampire woman, and they're talking frankly from as like one unholy and human creature to another, and she's chomping on this corpse that's just hanging there being like, yeah, you know, we've both been alive for a long time. People are weird. Like, let's make contracts where we get them to do our bidding. Like, this is fun. This is just what we do, you know? So I think that was a really fun moment as well.
Yeah. And definitely thank you, Resident Evil, for allowing us to grab that character and implement them into the episode, and then on further episodes after that. That was just thank you. We all needed it. Actia.
She's the giant vampire woman
I
we've all
think-
needed.
Yeah.
I think speaking of detention, Actia's was probably when they'd all had a little sippy sip of the truth juice and everyone was kind of freaking out. And rather than Keen taking control of the situation, she was kind of the one who was like, okay, we're just in group now. So everyone just needs to calm down. We're going to work stuff out. We're going to do it together as a team because that's what we are. And I feel like she has no confidence except for when she feels like she has to be the leader. And I think that is when she really started sort of understanding that she could help her cousins like that.
So for the creators, you have 3 major genres within the book. Obviously, we talked about and touched on them earlier on. Were there any that you really wanted to also put in the book that you just didn't have enough space for? And what were those? And why couldn't they have been pushed into the book, like squeezed in?
The one that we were going to initially include in the book is Cassiopeia, which is the short tagline is Event Horizon meets Dune. And we decided that might actually benefit from a lot more word count and turning it into a separate book, because there's just so much material you have when you're talking about extreme far future, post-Earth, death of humanity, and magic. How all those things combine with the themes of humans and all of these terrible things that they can encounter, being the worst monster because of colonialism and taking up planets and using their resources and things like that. So we could have squished it in, but I think we probably would have done a great deal of injustice to it and taken away a lot of the cool underlying themes that you can have when you combine space and space witches and, you know, Cthulhu monsters. So
yeah, of course. So we actually have a question from one of our listeners / watchers. Loud Atlas says, what's something you feel this system can do that other systems cannot? Thank you, Loud Atlas, for the question. But yes.
I think this system can adapt to anything that you want to play, that you can create anything that you want to play, and it is simple. The thing that it is really unique about it is the thing that has been mentioned before is the writer's room, where people come together and they write for a scene. And we all kind of do that when we play RPGs. Sometimes we talk before we go into a combat and we decide how it's going to play out. And your GM gets mad at you because they're like, you're not supposed to do this. You don't have time to plan in real life. Just do whatever. At least my GM always did, you know. And but this game actually encourages that, because the goal of the combat or the scene or whatever is not to win. It's to make it as cinematic as possible in a way that is comfortable for everybody. And I don't see a lot of games that focus on creating a scene rather than rolling your dice through the scene. And you do roll some dice, but that's just to determine like how your scene hits the real world kind of. So yeah, I say so a lot. I apologize.
No, it's fine. When
think
you
it
have
also,
such a project, yeah, just makes sense. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think what's also really cool about, you know, the writer's room aspect and everything like that is that, you know, like Jan said, it encourages that collaborative style of gaming by creating a mechanic for it. But like on top of creating these epic scenes, it also helps the players agree to a tone, because I mean, everybody's been in those sorts of gaming tables where, you know, you have like, you know, let's take the classic D&D party where you have one person who's like, I want to have my super serious, like, you killed my father, prepare to die, you know, edgy storyline, with the bard that just wants to drink and get laid. And like, you know, the writer's room mechanic lets you sort of, you know, hash out like, how can these characters exist in the same space? And you know, doing the artwork and everything, like that's something I tried to, you know, get across with the different types of stories being told. So like, I have a set of boards for the kinetic style that is, this is your Matrix style story. I already told you my alternate universe It's Always Sunny set of boards. I have, you know, a set of boards that's like just that super deep horror aspect. And it's so wonderful how many different genres within these genres you can create at your table, depending on your actors and, you know, director and what type of tone you want to hit with your experience.
And then somebody mentioned how it's amazing for checking in with people about how they're feeling and how they want to proceed. And that's another additional aspect is sometimes we're at tables with people we don't know as well as we know other people at the table. So especially in group settings where you're at a convention or something like that. And this is a way to always make sure that you are on the same page and that you know what your colleagues are feeling and you can proceed in a way that doesn't hurt anyone or traumatize them. And I think that's really important in gaming, is to make sure that everybody's just cool with how it's going on, because gaming is about enjoying yourself, not living out your worst traumas right there in front of somebody because you didn't know a piece of information. So I think it's super important to communicate, and the writer's room actually enforces that in this game.
Yeah, and I think what really helps is the fact that the meta is so much very a part of the rule set that it gives you some distance and an understanding that you can at any time interrupt the gameplay to have this discussion about where it should go by going into a writer's room, or with who, you know, what's my line mechanics and such. So all that I think creates a very lovely experience. So yeah, Rachel, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I wholeheartedly agree with everything about the writer's room. Another thing that I think that this game does in a very unique way is that in gaming spaces, there's been this conversation going on for years about playing to win versus playing to lose versus playing to lift. And the discussion pretty much centers around, is it okay to make what is a mechanically suboptimal choice if that contributes to the role playing experience? And there's all different voices who are contributing to this discussion. And one of the things that I really like about Morra is that uh, it says this in the text, is that the mechanically optimal choice will almost always be the more dramatically appropriate choice. So it sort of addresses all those questions at once. And I also really like the system of consequences. So, you know, when you're playing another game, if you roll low, you lose, and that's really disappointing. Whereas in Mora, you get consequences which are not intended to punish, but they're intended to be opportunities for further roleplay, for further exploration, and even character death. It's called getting knocked out of the story. So it's like, to reference Captain America again, it's like when Bucky falls off the train and you think he's dead, but is he really? He's been knocked out of the story, but he could come back on a motorcycle at any time. And I think that the game is really good about creating a space and a framework for players to have an experience that is more positive than frustrating. Because as much as we all love gaming,
Yeah.
some parts of it can get frustrating or disappointing. And I feel Morra addresses that in a really creative and efficient way.
And to spring off of
Oh, that's fair.
consequences, the qualities are the same way. The qualities are all generic, but they're specific enough that you can figure it out. Like if you cast a fireball, how you cast that fireball depends on your genre. So you could be casting a fireball because you're a robot with a flamethrower. You could be casting it because you're a wizard. You could be casting it because you are a magical creature. Depending on the genre, depends on the source of the power, but the power still works the same no matter what type of character that you're playing. So that's easy to remember when you, unlike other games where you have to figure out, I'm casting a fireball, it works this way here, this way here, this way here. No, the fireball works the same. It's just the source of it that changes things. And that's the same for most of the powers is, you know, you could be super strong because you're Hercules, you could be super strong because you're a giant robot, and or you can be super strong because you have a bionic arm. But you're still super strong no matter what, and that's the bonus that you get.
Definitely. What were some of the for the actors involved? What were your favorite powers or abilities that you had throughout the show? And we'll start with Actia because I do love some weird necromancy druid thing.
Yeah, I think my favorite was probably I love the two special abilities, this psychometry and the I can't remember the exact name of it because I left my notebook in my room, but she can't be bound during moonlight. So when we were, for example, sort of in like this tension, and she kept trying to put the restraints on her, and she was like, "It's just not gonna work. I don't know what to tell you." That's my fake answer because it's funny. But my real answer is obviously the psychometry because that's kind of what was very much surprisingly super essential to her character. I think that I've been coming to be perfectly candid, I've been coming to terms with my own neurodivergency recently, and that's something I've been able to put into Actia. And being super sensitive to other people's feelings and being highly empathetic is a massive part of that. And I think the psychometry really lent itself to that character choice.
Yeah, and you did such a great every time you did something with your character to affect the outside world. It was always done with such a creative way about it, and it was very interesting seeing it all play out, especially in the detention scene with all the horrors that were involved. It was really cool. Oh, and for those watching, Morra just got 2 backers. So they have jumped up from, I believe, 81% to 82%. So we are slowly climbing up that ladder. So keep it coming. But Eris and Lilith, what you think?
Yeah, I would be lying if I didn't say one of my favorite abilities for Lilith was the organ bees. It's one that just really, came back in full force more than I thought it would. There were several opportunities for those bees, and including opportunities for economic entrepreneurship, such as harvesting the honey and making vampire honey. Like young women who are wanting to start businesses, really working with unique opportunities, and I think that was very inspiring.
Yeah, it was. So for the creators who I'm sure are like WTF, as well as some of the newer viewers who might have not caught up to the TV series airing on Hulu /Netflix /HBO Max /Amazon Prime, not Peacock. Peacock will be our miniseries concerning squirrels. But what the hell's organ bees?
Yeah, so there was a really pivotal moment where Lilith took on a work study program with the school nurse and had a very wonderful moment where she really had the opportunity to shine. Where she offered to this nurse that she was wanting to turn the students' organs into bees, and this seemed to really strike a chord with the school nurse. And so during the first actual full work study, the school nurse apprehended a student and brought them in, a volunteer, as it were, and brought them in and had them sit down. And for this particular instance, she may have rolled really well. And so yeah, the students' organs were all completely turned into bees. But it was the sort of thing to where, the overall tone of the show is not dark horror. So the student was fine. The student was fine, still a fully functioning student, just with, on occasion, some bees would go out and come back in. So, and there was a constant little sound of buzzing to be heard. So, and a constant supply of honey as well, which I think was an added benefit.
Yeah, we had
to that. So
we had medical staff on the premises at all times, and we actually discovered through the whole process that human beings are meant to have organ bees, and that it's actually quite weird or inefficient for us to not. So definitely check that episode.
It's a beautiful
and check
symbiotic relationship.
Organ bees. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's
so.
And especially now as we've really begun to focus on the plight of the honeybee, and really bringing those back into full force. Really finding ways to house those within ourselves and our bodies. I think that's going to be one of the next documentaries as well. So, science.
Yeah, definitely. Science. And we love science here. So definitely check it out. For $1, you too can have the beginning of your own set of organ bees if you want. But Eris.
Yes.
Oh. I'm torn for Eris. It's either between their seemingly unending nonsense that they can pull with potions, because they pulled some crazy things with potions, or they're what's the word for things when you can hear other people's thoughts?
Telepathy.
That one. Their telepathy.
Empathy for eyebrows.
Their telepathy was so much fun to play with.
Oh, there were some really great moments. Awesome. So looking over at the stretch goals, we have some really cool stuff. The one I'm most interested, because the stretch goal 2, we of course talked about a little bit earlier about the Dune Event Horizon. Stretch goal 3, a new extreme horror genre by Phil Brucato. Can you guys tell me a little bit about that, and what can we expect from that horror genre?
I will let you know when Phil lets me know. It'll be by Phil. He's already signed on for it. Hopefully, so we hit the stretch goal. And I don't know much about it other than Phil will be writing it, so it will be extreme horror to the extreme. He's pretty big in the community because he does so much good work for gaming. So as soon as I know, I will let everybody else know.
Excellent. I asked because horror is it's kind of my jam. So anytime I see
Horror.
horror, I get really excited.
Horror is definitely
Yeah,
my jam too. It's
I
actually what I started out as, and still am, as I'm a horror fiction writer. So I'm always excited to
Mhm.
combine, the psychological with the terrifying.
yeah, and Phil is really good at the psychological aspect of horror, and he really knows how to create a space uh, that makes you sort of challenge or confront
Mhm.
your own foibles as just a human being, because he's really good with that sort of psychology, but he also knows how to make it safe. And so he knows how to
Yeah.
create a really intricate, meaningful experience that, you walk away from feeling edified. So I'm really, really looking forward to what he does with the Morra horror genre.
Yeah. So also looking over at the Kickstarter, what else can someone? I mean, obviously you have the core rulebook, you have the posters, you have the pins and the GM screen. What else can someone kind of expect or see down the line, and what do you think is kind of the best pledge in order to get the full experience of Morra?
I think that's going to depend on which genre you like the most, but each of the Kickstarter stretch goals after Phil should include a new poster that unlocks, and they will also include new genres. So I know that there is a kind of a post-apocalyptic, but it's actually post-Ragnarok Viking venue that they're going to be working on. So post-apocalyptic Vikings. And I know that Jason is working on something that's very Scooby-Doo adjacent with those meddling kids, and we are going to be working on some anthologies that are shorter adventures, because one of the things we want to see with Morra is, and I'll take an example from my real life. I have a friend who's a doctor. She does not play role-playing games at all. She sat down during one and she rolled some dice like that, and she's like, "Was that right? I don't even know what I'm doing here." I'm like, "It's rolling dice. It's pretty. You should be okay with that." So we want to do shorter genres that you can play around the table with your family that might not necessarily understand role-playing games, but they understand things like murder mystery dinners or short pretend games or things like that. And hopefully when we get to the higher Kickstarter goals, we'll start seeing some of those and some of the other genres that we have planned, like those meddling kids and the post Ragnarok, post-apocalyptic Vikings who drive around in something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know also one of the genres that Jason and I were kicking around as a complete left field to all the others is a anime and Sentai inspired genre. So for those of you who grew up playing Sailor Moon or Power Rangers, this is the genre for you. Please support our Kickstarter, because the more money we get, the more of these things we can bring to life.
Yeah,
Awesome
Scooby-Doo
stuff.
adjacent is one of my favorite adjectives too.
Yeah, I think I
man.
would be
Yeah,
very much
there's-
into the. Go ahead, sorry.
There's just so much you can do with it. So all of the crazy ideas that you've ever had, and you were like, that would make a great TV show, or you've watched a TV show and you're like, I wish it took this direction when it jumped the shark, or you liked it when it jumped the shark and wish it had always been that way. And all of those things can be created with Morra. So we have Magical Girl, and I know we're working on one that is about fairy tales, but it's about the concept of memory in fairy tales. So it's all of these fairy tale people, and you might have 15 different versions of them because there are 15 different fairy tales, are fighting to be the one that gets their details memorized and their details brought forward in culture so that they can survive while all the other ones sort of fade away. And everybody's brought forward ideas. We have ghost hunters. Somebody mentioned the X-Files. We have fun family stuff like a kind of a Rats of Nim animal style genre that's been tossed around. So the options are limitless, and that's one of the best things about Morra is if you can think of it and put it on some paper and create some archetypes for it, that venue is yours. You can create anything you want with it.
Yeah, I think
okay,
if...
I thought you wanted to reverse harem venue. That would be crazy, but you can have it.
I want the genre, all right? I want all these lovely dudes, and then all of them vying against each other for the affection of one woman. I think that would be hilarious. And also, I'm a huge fan of two hot guys making out, which is another amazing TTRPG. So all that goodness.
Isn't everyone?
So, yeah. Back over to the actors. If there was a second season, if we get picked up by Peacock or HBO, what genre do you think the second season would be that would be most enjoyable to explore as you as an actor?
I mean, I've definitely been really into apocalypse narratives at the moment. I've just watched The Mitchells versus the Machines on Netflix, which brought me so much joy, and I think everyone should go and watch it. It's so good. But I think very much like you see so many science fiction based apocalypses, and the idea of like a magic based apocalypse, especially with our characters becoming almost gods. You could have sort of an AU continuation of season 2 where they stay like that and what that world looks like. I think that would be really cool.
I'm tending to agree with that as well, and perhaps, even veering in the direction of a second season where these characters from the first season stay the villains, and then we're introduced to a new set of characters that are brought up and surviving in this world, and just see where they go. Perhaps even that have no connection to the first season in the story. They just are living in this world and dealing with the consequences of other people's actions.
Such a sucker for bait and switch, get you on the side of the villains, and then have the next narrative from a different perspective where they're the bad guy. That's one of my favorite tropes in fiction, and I wish places did it more often. And that
I don't know.
It's a cool idea.
Not usually on it, but that's just personal choice.
I think I am currently addicted to the sort of superhero thing just now. Like, I got bored one day and binged, what did I binge again? A bunch of the Marvel films. I think
for a second I thought you were going to say Invincible, and I was like, my new hyperfixation.
Yeah.
I binged 3 Marvel movies in the one day. And I was at finishing the binge, I was like, oh, that was only an hour. No, movies are 2 hours long nowadays. 3 2-hour movies means 6 hours. But my brain said, no, it was just one, it's fine. Don't know why it's dark outside now, but it's just been an hour. But yeah,
that being said, I do love the idea of a second season, maybe even going the American Horror Story route. Second season, same group, different setting. These magic cousins in a different setting, how do they behave in the, they're back in olden Viking times, how do they behave there? Like, do they make the same choices? Now they're in a completely
Yeah.
different world, what do they do? They're on a space station now, what do they do?
And-
I think that would be fun.
Yeah, and that's kind of a cool segue because I think one of the genres in the book that we haven't talked about yet is mystical realm. So Rachel, JN, maybe give the pitch for mystical realm, and then the actors can talk about how their characters would translate to that setting.
Yeah,
I
Mystical
guess
Rome
I'll-
is
okay.
a lot of fun. Yeah.
You can
So
go,
it's
Rachel.
based on the premise. Oh, sorry. I think I'm having a little bit of lag. So Mystical Rome is based on the premise of Julius Caesar was not assassinated on the Ides of March, but Mark Antony was, and what happened next was that magic came back into the world. And so Caesar is still alive. He's like almost like 100, 120 years old right now. So he's been kept alive by these strange magics cast by, they're called the Soothsayers. And Brutus escaped. He's in Britannia now, doing really weird and nefarious stuff. Augustus is in Egypt with Cleopatra, and it's designed to be a very political game with sort of the assumption that most people are going to play patricians or people who are associated with a certain patrician house. And so there's a lot of politics going on and a lot of magic and a lot of mystery. Yeah, so if you like historical alternative fiction, uh, definitely check out Mystical Realm.
So, how actors would your characters then translate to that sort of setting of antiquity? Like, where do you see yourselves fitting within this?
And I think if we were to take that to the second season, to where we did suddenly convert to this other setting, which, the question then becomes for the viewer, is there a link between these two? Is it just a creative choice, or is there some reason that they're transporting through time? I feel like the cousins would still be related. I feel like that's something you would still want. I feel like there's two different directions I almost want to take it. I want to take one to where they're adults in this world, and like, where do they fall into society as adults? Like, one is getting involved in this politicking and such. One, is a seer and things like this, like kind of how we had gone the ending route. And then there's another part of me that wants to see them going through, like, kind of the same kind of thing, like visionary, being raised up as like prophetesses and things like that, and like being unleashed into this world.
Fox, I was literally about to be like, oh well, Tia would probably be like like in a temple or a sect dedicated to Pan or something. For our absolutely wonderful system creators who don't know, my podcast is about like myths and legends and demigods and stuff. So this is my bread and butter. This is very exciting for me. So I think, yeah, for sure. Or the alternative is very much a I'm fully blanking on what I was going to say. Political wife figures, because I know in ancient Rome a lot of women didn't hold positions of power, so being groomed much like the Bennett children in Pride and Prejudice to marry powerfully and influence that way, I think would also be a really interesting way to do it.
Yeah, I would just like a inspired season, Jane Austen inspired season. I think that would be fantastic. And definitely, I think the best example of shifting genres between movies is probably Pitch Black to Chronicles of Riddick, because Pitch Black is a horror movie, right? And then it shifts to like, okay, now it's sci-fi fantasy. Yeah, there's a whole world here beyond like the horror and stuff. That's just very weird. And I like both movies, but definitely two very, very different genres within like the same universe. So yeah.
I feel like
going over. I mean, we talked. Go ahead. Sorry, Eris.
Sorry, I feel like the only thing for Eris would be in jail with wherever they end up. They're arrested. That's it. Like they should
Jail
have been
for
arrested.
being
Yeah.
arrested, or jail for being Gaelic, and the Romans don't like that.
Or for setting things on fire.
There's probably a long list.
They have options.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
I mean, you can start with just who they are as a person, and then go down the list, and eventually end up at the war crimes that they've committed.
Oh yeah.
I
I
would
mean,
probably
Rome is
continue
pretty
to commit.
world, so
Yeah. The Romans were pretty avid allies to the land squirrels, and so your involvement there, no doubt, will be looked at and scrutinized.
Either that, or Eris would still like attempt to become a god again, because that was fun.
that might be taken a little
That
differently
was.
in Roman culture.
It's
I think I'd be
fine.
into it.
Yeah,
Don't worry
and also
about it.
I think
this
they
is
could do enough.
mystical Rome, so that's something that could be, a character goal is seeking out a member of the pantheon, and replacing them.
Jennifer, you would enjoy my
I think we
podcast so
have-
much.
Eris actually becomes.
I think we have our second season.
Definitely, I'll have to check it out.
Oh, speaking of Kratos, I think that'd be perfect. Eris getting like that ashen skin from the ash of all the dead squirrels. Or maybe
Oh
the
my
spider
God.
Steve who gets it.
And then
Eris
Sprouts
is
just like ears, a tail, covered in squirrel ash, a little bit of hair singed.
Looking like a badass. So yeah, for people watching, go ahead and post questions and the likes and stuff like that. We have our finale coming up next week, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which will take place sometime after the last episode that just passed. Eris, Lilith, and Actia. Where can you tease out where the audience can kind of expect to see your characters like the first time we see them in over some time?
Yes, I can. So it's been a little bit of time since the last episode. A little bit of a time jump. We go into that convention, and so Lilith, envision, if you will, a world in which Lilith is Queen Absolute, and everyone loves her because they have no choice. And if they try to not love her, maybe something bad happens to them. And that's, that's just them are the breaks.
Yeah,
It's hard to be the queen.
Yeah, can we actually get a poll on there? I want to know, does the audience believe that this bad thing will involve bees, organs, or organ bees? These three things, please comment to see which one you like the most.
And we do at this point also get Kiva is there as well, but Kiva has taken on her full actual nightmarish shape. So if you envision something like a black rabbit, but if you think about Donnie Darko, for anyone who's familiar with that, we get something a little more like that, but maybe the size of a horse with real long limbs and a really long neck, and really very skinny but very hungry all of the time. That's kind of what we're looking at.
While we're referencing other media for where our PCs are at, I think for Tia, I very much imagine a Miss Havisham-esque character, but instead of the empty house, it's plants. She talks to plants all the time. She has no friends. All her friends are plants. She's doing the the very high level druid spell that lets you travel between trees that I can never remember the name of. Basically
like
just
plant
doing
walk
that.
or tree walk.
Yeah, it's something like that. Just doing that sort of all over the world. Anytime she comes across a piece of natural area that's been disturbed, like she's gone through just whole towns and just made trees grow through houses because she's like, no, don't like that. Yeah, just kind of like a little kid with too much power who only has imaginary friends now.
That's fair. Eris, any comments?
Eris is definitely like stuck in the vampire castle, but none of the other vampires are there. Like, they are entirely by themselves. Like, they can't contact anybody. But capitalism's not there anymore, so benefits.
Yeah, the last episode we discovered through their actions that there is no more capitalism.
Yeah. Everybody has a good house, somewhere to stay, food. We're living in a utopia. But yeah, Eris is
ruled by
in prison. Ruled by like 4 insane people.
Yeah.
But yeah, like,
I'm sure it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah. So we talked about last game going into this new episode with different characters. Is that something you guys still wanted to do, or are we thinking about reprising your roles with those characters who've gone into such a dark path?
I feel like both would be quite good. I would love to go down the dark path with them and do the sort of Last of Us 2. Like, in The Last of Us 2, Ellie's obviously a darker character than she was in the first one. And you get to explore that a lot more. I would love to do something like that with our characters.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and kind of like where part of me would really, really love to see sort of an outside effect of what they've done, but also I mean, there's going to be nothing to bring them together, so an external force is needed, and it's whether we want that to be our director or we want that to be us in different bods. I don't know who I'd want to play though.
One of the trees.
Yes.
A little less.
That'd be a great tree.
It'd be so cute. Yeah. So for those watching, we are coming up at the end of our show-ish. We still have some time, though, but feel free to poke and send over questions. We have them right here. The cast and the creators, all these amazing people. So other than you three individuals who helped bring this game to life, who are some of the other people involved with this project, and how did they become a part of this project?
Oh my gosh, there are so many people. Jason Andrew and Jeffrey Fowler are my partners, and we originally met through doing By Night Studios work together. We have Jennifer Brazos, obviously, is one of our artists. We have a newcomer. He actually comes from us via University of Cincinnati graphic design. His name is Gavin Posey. And we have Fabio Coman, who is actually a very renowned cyberpunk artist. But he does, he did a lot of our internal artwork for the book. For writers, we have, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to pull this up. There's so many. One of the things we really wanted to do is we pulled in a lot of new writers so that they could get experience. Since Morra took 3 years to bring to fruition, we had a lot of lead time, which means we could do a lot of training. So a lot of people were very new, and this is one of their first writing projects. So we have Andrea Barr and April Douglas. Rachel Judd obviously did some writing for us. Jason Hulsey, Michael Martinez, and Mathew Montalto, and they're both working on the Zorro venue, which is Zorro venue. I keep saying venue. I mean genre. We have the license rights to Zorro, so that will be our next Kickstarter. If this one is successful, is we're going to release an anthology of 3 different types of Zorro genres. One being like modern, fight against the man, which we all very much feel this age, and one classic one, and then one I think that is more futuristic, if I recall correctly. Renee Ritchie helped write some of the book. Chris Rombach, Brendan Whaley, and then Andrew Biddle, who is our logistics manager, but he's also one of our writers on Zorro, and he's the one that's going to be in charge of the Viking venue. And if you've ever seen him, he looks like a Viking. He has the appropriate venue. But yeah, we have a lot of new people, and we tried to also pull in a lot of authors who were people of color or LGBTQ plus or female, because we know that very often they have the hardest time breaking into our industry because of lacking experience and not having the all important one credit that can get you future jobs. Oh, and our mystical room photographer was Justin Pulsifer, who did all of this wonderful photography from the Mystical Rome event. So all of our images were either compiled together by Fabio Coman for Mystical Rome. So he took a lot of the images from that event and actually turned them into art pieces, which is really cool to see the faces of people you know in these really cool artistic painting style things that he did. And Justin's photos will also be featured in the book as part of the Mystical Rome venue.
That reminds me too. Speaking of those photos, Mighty Narwhal has hosted live action role play versions of these genres, Mystical Rome being the first. There was supposed to be a Cassiopeia one, but then pandemic happened. So please, if you're out there, like and follow the Mighty Narwhal page so you can hear about any new live action events that happen when everybody gets vaccinated and live things happen again. Because
Yeah.
I think you can view those photos on the Facebook group too. Like, the event was so wonderfully produced. Jason had mentioned before that they also ran a charity event for Supernatural as a genre, and they actually had Baby, the actual car, as part of that event. So yeah, like, again, it sort of is really cool how you can adapt the system to different types of things you want to play in.
And if you go to our webpage, you can subscribe to our email list. And on our email list, we do not flood people with emails, and we do not sell your email address because that would require effort on my part. Not going to happen. And we will send, but we do send emails out about events and things like that that you can get more information on, and you can kind of just keep up with it on a, like, sometimes twice a month most likely once a month basis of what we're going to be busy doing and where our Kickstarters are and what our new any new venues that we've got, any new licenses we have, because we have the license for Shattered World as well. So we're going to be doing a Shattered World book at some point in time for Michael Reeve. And we're going to pursue other licenses as well. So that's the first place to always get announcements from us.
Awesome. All right, just look out there for a little bit. All right, cool. So all this cool, and is interesting. You said like two of those names I recognize: April Douglas and Chris Rombach, two individuals who I've LARPed with before, and I'm pretty sure all four of us were in the same LARP organization for some time, if I recall. Definitely, I remember seeing your names out there.
Have we all done our time in that 3-initialed organization?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Which I'm really excited to see it being LARP. So for those who only know the TTRPG side and stuff like that, how does the system translate to the LARP setting?
When it translates over to LARP, it translates over more on consent-based mechanics rather than actual throwing dice across the table, although there is some discussion on how they do those mechanics. Did anybody attend the Mystical Realm event? I don't know if Rachel did.
No,
I wasn't able to go because
Lisa in the Twitch chat did.
Okay. She could give you more information about how the mechanics worked on that side. I didn't attend the event because I'm disabled, so sometimes I don't get to go places. But she, I know a lot of it, there were just cards in places, and if you could beat the challenge with that card, with the pool on your sheet with that card, you just won the challenge. The point is, and then you got to tell a story about it. The point really is to tell a story. So really the challenges are just there to, yes, I succeed. No, I don't. I tell a story either way about it. If you came across those cards like, oh, this is a Minotaur battle, it has this on it, I beat this, or no, I don't, and then I go tell somebody what happened. Yeah, she said she didn't even use cards the whole weekend. I think that's what they did use, is just a really simple deck of cards to represent what their test pools were.
Excellent.
But for the most part, what you do is you talk to people about it and decide how you're going to play out a scene and who's going to do things.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the focus of the game, is having that conversation to create these wonderful and beautiful scenes. A live action Ravens would be amazing. Also, Oregon Beats won out Lilith and everyone else. So that's good to hear. But yeah, for people, once again, questions, feel free to send them because we are coming up to the end of this particular session. Though, obviously, next week you get to see what happens to, I'm not going to call them heroes anymore. I think they've become more than that. But nonetheless, it'll be an enticing, riveting, and exciting time. Hopefully, Resident Moon will be able to join us. Our thoughts go out to them. I know they're busy and weren't able to come to this particular meeting. But yeah, for Rachel, JN, and Jennifer, what are kind of your final closing thoughts concerning Morra, and what do you want people to know about the game more than kind of anything else?
This was a really rewarding experience for me to be working on. I really enjoyed editing. I really enjoyed writing Punching Nazis. And I suppose the one thing that, if you want, I would say that it is meant to be a very accessible game. There are not a whole lot of rules for you to memorize. There's a lot of safety tools. It's meant to be a game that appeals to everybody. And uh, I personally am a very narrativist storyteller when I run games, and I really like that Morra gives me the flexibility to do that.
Fair.
For me, on the same level, like, you know, again, doing the some of the artwork, this was, you know, likewise a very rewarding and fulfilling experience. But like very much on that creative level. I had made the comment in Twitch that like organ bees is something I would never have thought of. But you know, it makes me so freaking happy that again, like, you know, this is that kind of system that you can have that be a thing. And, you know, it really lets you get to those levels of like, you know, your only limitations are how creative you are or can be in any given moment. Like it encourages you to strive for those, you know, swing for those fences and strive for those depths because, you know, whatever amazing experience you want to create, as long as your team is on board with it, like go for it.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised you guys didn't anticipate organ bees, but yeah, that's fair.
Whoever
I feel,
expects
yeah,
organ
like again,
bees.
I am disappointed in myself, honestly.
They do kind of come out of nowhere.
Well,
But
they
so
they
good
come
for
out
the
of somewhere.
environment.
That poor student's body.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it's all the buzz.
Ah!
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 Before we
so-
get off track, go ahead, Jan.
I will rickroll you again, Mitch.
It's okay because my favorite, I can just make this really simple. My favorite part of Morra is organ bees. My favorite part is the flexibility. I can take this, and I was super excited to be working on the fact that I could really do anything that I wanted to with this book, and anybody can. I can take it to a LARP, I can take it to a tabletop game, I have rules for how to create a genre if I want to have a specific genre that I am inspired by. As a writer, that is always super exciting because one of the things that we want to do is open it up, have an open license so people can write their own genres, and even in some cases we help publish those genres for them. I like that I can make a character and it can go any which direction I want it to go just based on what I'm writing that character in. So it'd be fun to see some mashup genres like Ravenswood meets Punching Nazis, and like think about England during the period of punching Nazis and have a group of students from a magic school come in and help punch some Nazis. And that's going to be exciting. I really just love as a person being able to do anything with a game and not having to read 50 million source books to figure that out, because I write for other people and sometimes you have to read so much source material to even get one thing right. It becomes very difficult, whereas this encourages you to be able to focus in one area, do that, and then just let your imagination run wild.
Awesome. And finally, for our wonderful cast members, Actia, Eris, and Lilith, what are kind of your final thoughts? And I know we're almost coming to an end here, so have anything to say concerning that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I completely agree with everything the brilliant creators have said. The amount of freedom and allowance to be able to take such a creative venture into not only organ bees, but animatronics coming to life and the demon children possessing a tickle me Smelmo, and the squirrel wars and everything, like being able to bring such, I don't want to say off the rails, I feel like that has a connotation, but such wild ideas into this space and have it all completely connect and be able to completely be integrated so seamlessly. I think it's a really neat system that allows for that. So I think that's been a really, really cool part of it. And you know, just as an actor or actress player, you know, it's been really fun. So I think above just, you know, everything in terms of performance, like that has been a really huge part of it for me.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, jumping off what Fox said, like the versatility is so good. I don't really think I've ever talked about it on the stream, but my background is academic, and I specialize in narrative theory. So I've read stuff like, you know, the heroes with 1,000 Faces, Into the Woods by John York. I just picked up Philip Pullman's Demon Voices, because just narrative theory and the concept of like what makes a story really, really gets me going. So beyond being a TTRPG player who loves new systems and has had the most amount of fun with this system, from a very nerdy academic perspective, I've also found it super interesting, like really insightful. And that's also been really exciting for me.
Awesome. Eris?
I've really enjoyed being able to play something that's a lot different to a lot of TTRPGs. Something that is not like you have to, like, you can run D&D in the modern age, but you can always feel that it's D&D. This is like, you can run whatever you want, and it's gonna feel absolutely insane. Like, it's gonna be amazing. And yeah, organ bees. I love, like, we started as organ bees, and we started this as kids being forced to go through a maze and ended as gods. So, you know, what else can 8 weeks do?
Yeah, if that's something you're interested in, if you can relate to that, definitely check out the finale of Ravenswood Academy, which is next week. And if this sort of role play and kind of collaborative storytelling is something you're very much interested in, do check out the Morra Kickstarter on right now. I know during this time we had a few backers, but we want more. We want them to reach their goal and then beyond. They are 83% funded. And because your previous GM, Sam, loves you guys so much, we do have a wonderful squirrel trailer to show everyone as we kind of sign off here. So without further gilding the lily and such like that, we are all going to wave goodbye. This has been Weave the Tale, and definitely make sure to check out these amazing people. Stay in chat, because next after this we are talking to Satine and Jameson from their Kickstarter Sirens Battle of the Bards. So stick around for that. Much love. Watch the squirrel video, because I am too.
These are the tales we weave. These are the tales we weave. Tales of magic. Tales of mystery. Tales exploring the beyond. And while we continue to grow, even more adventures await. In the depths of the unknown. Will you join us in the telling?